Hello gentlemen and welcome. I'm here to lay out the case for acquiring as much XRP as possible. In front of you is the XRP USD 1-day trading chart for Kraken. It goes back a little ways, since all the way out to May 2017. You can see the price at that point was kind of on an average of around 25 cents. It was at 25 cents, 25 cents, 25 cents, and then right here it broke out on the 11th of December 2017, along with a lot of other cryptos, and it ran all the way up to $3.35. So that's a full $3 higher than where we're at now. We're only at 35 cents down here. So it's had a long pullback, and we're reaching that area of consolidation here. So there are a few notes that I took about XRP, and one of them is not at CoinMarketCap but at Forbes crypto markets. I'm starting to use this one more and more. I'm thinking I'm just gonna get rid of CoinMarketCap, except for the fact that every once in a while I have to research a coin, and it's a little easier on that one. But XRP, if you notice, under market cap has $35.74 billion in the market cap right there. So what I want to do is just bring you over to this cool little chart. This is on the website moneyvisualcapitalist.com. Each square represents $100 billion. And you can see the little silver square of the value of all above ground silver stocks, estimated by some at 1 billion ounces, is $17 billion, using a $17 per ounce spot price. Well, the spot price right now is actually probably pretty well, it's a little lower than that, but that doesn't really matter. The fact is that this is, real tiny. So I'm not really getting into silver, but I'm just kind of representing the squares. All of XRP would be 1/3 of just one square. So when you look at cryptocurrencies, this gold one is Bitcoin, this one right here is Ethereum, and then all the rest are in this square right here, which is actually a smaller square than your standard size black one. So you have a lot of XRP in here. XRP takes up quite a bit of space in there. Now what you want to visualize is that every one of these squares equals, each square this size is worth $100 billion. So what I want you to picture in your mind is that when the world goes off the dollar and goes into cryptocurrencies, the world is going to go into most likely XRP, and it is going to be the base pair against trading against all other assets. So XRP versus gold, XRP versus Bitcoin, XRP versus, you name it. Stocks, commodities, oil, property, bonds, it's all going to be there. So what you need to visualize is that all these squares, Amazon, Facebook, Apple, Alphabet, Microsoft, Berkshire Hathaway, these are all your biggest companies. These aren't even all the companies. They're just the biggest ones. All their money is going to go into 1/3 of that little block. And all the 50 richest people, their money is going to flow into that block. And California's GDP is going to all go back into that block. The Fed's balance sheet, 4.5 trillion, is going to go into that block. Your coins and banknotes totaling 7.6 trillion. Remember, they've been talking about a you know, going paperless on everything, including your money. 7.6 trillion going in there. Gold, this is the price, the spot price on gold and what it's worth, but now this isn't going to go into there, obviously, but what it's going to do is it's going to be traded against it. So 7.7 trillion traded against it. These are your stock markets, all your stock markets. The blue one represents the United States, the UK, Japan, China, Euro, the rest of the world. All of this money is going into that one little square. This is the global money supply. You have your narrow money. The total value of the world's easily accessible money is 36.8 trillion. This includes the world's coins, banknotes, and checking and deposits. That goes from here to here, right? From here up to here. And a lot of this right here, that's your narrow money. And then you have your broad money down here, which is probably most of this. The total value of the world's money is 90.4 trillion. This includes coins, banknotes, money markets, accounts, as well as savings, checkings, and time deposits. So remember, there's only 8% of the world is in cash, like banknotes and coins. The rest of it is non-physical already. 92% of it is non-physical. Then you have your global debt. All of these squares are going to go into that 1/3 square right now. This global debt is going to get sucked up into that one little square, into XRP. 70 trillion of the world's debt, 33%, was added in the last decade alone. So much debt. You have your emerging markets here, and let's not forget about real estate. Look how big these ones are. $217 trillion. You have 29 trillion in your commercial properties, 162 trillion in housing, and 26 trillion from farms and, you know, growing food and stuff. But this is kind of a visualization of those things. Residential, the black one, agriculture, real estate, and commercial right here. Now we're getting into the derivatives. So we have 544 trillion on a national contract basis. So all of this right here, let me just keep scrolling down, down, down. All these will be sucked up. Collateralized debt obligations and credit default swaps are two derivative types that are now infamous for their roles in the 2008 financial crisis. Well, they're talking about having another financial crisis now. All this is so extremely top heavy. There's so much debt. So where is it going to go? And then this is here we've reached the low end estimate of 544 trillion. And so this is where we get into the 1.2 quadrillion dollars in derivatives and contracts for the rest of the world. And it says right here, a little note, the truth is no one really knows the exact size of this derivatives market. So it's huge. So I'm just going to keep scrolling down. All of these squares are going to keep scrolling. There you go. Yep, that's a lot. And this is 1 Bitcoin. Remember, that's 1 Bitcoin. So that's 1 Bitcoin. And remember, XRP is going to be used as the currency, not Bitcoin. Bitcoin will be like gold. So if you think of Bitcoin as your digital gold, then we can scroll back up here and say that Bitcoin will grow to this size right here, right? So it will take up this, because I think a lot of people are going to save in gold or Bitcoin, but they're going to use XRP as the currency and the base trading pair for all of these things. So all of these things are going to have extreme money flow, extreme money velocity in XRP. Now, in the 2008 financial crisis, let me get back into here. we had after that event, all the banks started lashing each other together, uh, binding themselves to one another, because they didn't want bank failures. It would be like a domino effect. If one bank goes down, then it doesn't pay, and then it doesn't pay the other ones, and then they go down, and the next one goes down, and it's like a contagion, and it spreads, and then you have bank failures across the globe. And that's why in 2008 we did a bank bailout to prop them up. But after that, they lashed each other together. So now, if one starts to fall, the others it's tied to the others. So they're kind of sharing like this fake money pool, and it helps prop up the illiquid banks. And so you don't have defaults. You notice you haven't seen many banks failing, despite how bad it is. So what you're going to have, because the banks are all going to fail at the same time, you're talking about big banks like Deutsche Bank and whatnot. What's going to happen then, instead of them all getting a bailout, they would all switch over to Ripple as a trading pair, and Ripple would suck up all that debt all at once, and it would create a stable and fair market across the board in China, Russia, Japan, the US, emerging markets. They'll all be on a fair trading field all at once, and that would keep the banks from imploding or going down. And then you also, when that happens, you get rid of inflation, because what happens right now is countries devalue their dollars against other trading pairs, like the Chinese will devalue the yuan against the USD so that they can export more, right? And that creates an imbalance between savers, and it's very destructive to savers in China if they're devaluing their currency. But also too, it gives them the economic edge. And what would happen is when we start using XRP as the blockchain, and it's very transparent, everyone can look at the blockchain and see what's happening. It creates a equality among these large countries and banks, so they can't undercut each other anymore. And it would basically go overnight with a flick of a switch. We would have a global reserve currency. Now, this would create more stability, in my opinion, and I believe that with money velocity and whatnot, it would help insulate people who are savers to become, more wealthy. Because right now with inflation, it's punishing savers, and they're not able to, like if you saved $1 million, and you're an old person, that might not last too long. So, but when you were a kid and you're an old guy now, $1 million seemed like a heck of a lot of money to work for and to save up with. So now I just want to go over some of the cases for XRP. I made a list here. They want to take over the SWIFT system, and the SWIFT system is basically, all that money being traded bank to bank internationally. They're planning on taking over the NASDAQ. Amazon, you can buy and sell, not eBay, but Amazon is in talks to adopt it behind the scenes. Trading pairs are growing on all exchanges daily. It used to be on exchanges you would have USD and Bitcoin trading pairs, but now all of a sudden everything's popping up XRP all over the place. The token taxonomy act in Congress, talk about that when that comes to being passed, how that is going to affect tokens, and it'll tokenize the world in a positive way. And you can't have behind the scenes nefarious money printing like in the disguised as QE, quantitative easing, to basically dilute the value of your dollar. It won't be able to do that anymore. And the Token Taxonomy Act, when it's passed by Congress, will basically open the floodgates to a brand new asset that everyone's going to want to have, and it's going to be huge. It's going to be huge. The Kuwaiti bank is using Ripple currently, already. So you're seeing it pop up on banks on the fringes already. All the banks have been taking and paying for on the OTC, over-the-counter swaps. They're buying up XRP at a base price that I'm not sure of. I think it's been kind of hush-hush. But these banks are buying it up, and they're testing it when they do their transactions of cross-border payments. They're seeing how quick it is. They're seeing how easy it is. They're seeing how transparent it is, because banks want to adopt this, because nobody wants to be a Lehman Brothers that dies because of Goldman Sachs, who killed Lehman Brothers by not giving that bank the money that they were owed. And if that ever happened again, then now nobody wants to be that bank. It's a game of hot potato as this debt goes around and around and around. Who's ever left holding the bag goes down when the music stops. But what they're going to do is make it so, hey, we're all using Ripple now, and you can't screw your buddy over, your bank buddy over, to get a leg up on them and rape them of their assets and destroy their company. You're not going to be able to do that anymore, and it's a really, really good thing. And it's going to put a lot of countries at ease, a lot of banks at ease, because you're going to have the blockchain now that's fair, honest, and trustless. You won't have to trust another company or bank to do the right thing. It's just going to show up, and instantly you're going to have verification that the funds are there and you're not exposed. So moving on here, the IMF sees a way to adopt it as a currency. The International Monetary Fund would probably end up using it as one of the baskets. XRP is almost like, one of those currencies in their basket of currencies. It could become a global currency. We already talked about that. Federal Payments Task Force, CKJ, another crypto YouTuber, did a report on that, and how they are all over the place and they're working hard behind the scenes. The Federal Reserve commissioned Ripple and opened its doors to the big banks globally. So in the beginning, probably I forget what year it was, but it was basically the Federal Reserve that kicked this off to begin with. If you don't think the Federal Reserve is serious about money, you've got another thing coming. Now, what we have here is the United States. In the United States, the New York Times stated the United States will lose its footing as the global reserve currency, and I believe that's true when they put that out in the newspaper article, because when you have Ripple, that would suddenly become the base pair of all assets and everything across the board in the whole world. And because Ripple isn't a part of a country or part of a bank, it's just its own separate business, it would be easier for everyone to agree on that and trust it, because it's kind of a neutral party. It's just a business that wants to provide a service for the rest of the world, and has no no ties to anybody other than to free market and free economy. So I think a lot of people will be able to be on board with that. It says the Backed and ICE are setting up to move into crypto. So that's huge. Oh my goodness, I can't even believe that. Fidelity opening a crypto brokerage house. That's another thing. People will just be able to, get into their 401ks and get into XRP. It'll be super easy. XRP, massive partnerships, retail and banks. Even banks don't want a token controlled by banks. So like I said before, with the lashing of banks together in the trustless system that XRP provides, even if one bank said, hey, I got a token and we should all use it, no one's going to trust it. That's why XRP, being a standalone company by itself, has no ties with any bank at all, but providing a service to all banks would make it more fair and legitimate. This would solve the liquidity crisis for the entire globe. So you're looking at all of that money flowing into XRP. You start getting money velocity, fair, equal, balanced trades among all partners. The tensions between countries and banks cool down. It just really greases the wheels and gets this engine economy starting to roll again, which would be fantastic. Like I said, no more Lehman Brothers would happen in the future. Banks are where the value is. That is a quote. Let's see. XRP also, when you really look at it, it doesn't look like it's a security. So that is also a really good thing when it comes to setting up a framework for the legal framework for how it is traded or taxed, or how it is used. The XRP, just think of it as like the absolute big daddy of all the cryptocurrency coins. Now, you haven't heard much about it because they've been behind the scenes actually doing the good work, working hard. They don't need to promote themselves, because when you have the backing of the Federal Reserve, who's supporting you and just funding you and allowing you to cherry pick the best and brightest minds out of the entire world to, work on this XRP behind the scenes with non-disclosure agreements, it's all very hush-hush, and it's easy to look at XRP with its valuation and price chart that you see here as just another, shit coin. But there is much, much more here than meets the eye. Oh yeah, that was a sweet one. Was the last crypto pump a way to add liquidity to a stagnant or new markets to get this whole thing jump started and growing? So what I'm asking is when we look at like especially in this time right here, where did all this money come from, right? We got it started and it was just flatlined. Then all of a sudden all this money came in. What was this pump for, right? During this time when all markets were pumping, what was that for? Well, I have a feeling, this is my conspiracy mind saying, that it could have been a money injection into the very small, tiny crypto space, which is this right here, right? By the Federal Reserve. That's my conspiracy theory. There's nothing to back that up, but the thought is that they injected money into this space to get thousands of coins jump started and rolling, so these companies would be able to buy and sell, and it would be basically like an arena where they would basically have a money injection, and it would be survival of the fittest, and eventually the best coins would come out on top. Now, I believe this is just the first major pump. We've had other smaller pumps before, but the next pump's going to be even bigger, especially if we have a currency crisis globally around the world. This next cryptocurrency pump is going to be huge. Right now there's a lot of Bitcoin maximalists and tribalism. I'm going to jump into Bitcoin right here, BTC USD on the 1-day chart, and you can see this is the chart here, but there was a lot of tribalism saying, because this is the most expensive coin, it went up to 20,000. There's the tribalism is that, hey, this coin is better than all the other ones, and it has a basic function, and its only function is to store wealth and value. And the problem is that Bitcoin, with only 6 transactions per second, maybe on average, it doesn't have a throughput that would allow for liquidity in the whole world markets. So I do believe that this would be a great store of wealth in the future, but it's not as important as the underlying asset for the whole world, XRP. So think of this, the DX exchange is coming out. They're going to do stocks with fractional stocks via XRP pairs. So if you only had enough money to buy, a third of an Apple stock, you could probably do that. With crypto, there'll be commodities starting out with XRP trading pairs for major cryptos with stocks soon, bringing in hundreds of trillions of dollars into XRP. The Trump administration has, behind the scenes, been embracing cryptos, and I have a feeling that they have been doing a lot of things like raising interest rates and creating instability in the markets as a way to create a problem that's a control problem that would get more people on board of the switch into crypto assets if they thought, well, if we continue down this road the way we are, that we will lose everything. So it would be better to avoid war, avoid financial crisis or crash, and instead switch over to XRP. The price of XRP is going to go up. More crypto regulations coming soon for guidelines and clarity to help form this space and help it nurture it and to grow it into something absolutely huge. Guys, that's all I got to say for today. These are the reasons why I believe XRP is going up. This is why I believe it is so critical to the rest of the world. And these ideas I did not have not even a month and a half ago. So a month and a half ago, I was leaning more towards Bitcoin maximalism, more towards tribalism, and not seeing the big picture. But I really see it clearly now. And there's no coin out there that is doing more development and adding more partnerships and creating the biggest partnerships and the biggest impacts on the world than XRP at this point in time. And it's happening every day. And if you go on the internet, you can probably find new articles popping up every hour. And yet the price remains on XRP one of the greatest values you could ever get your hands on. Let's get back down to it and show you again. XRP currently at 36 cents. Screaming deal, because when all of those when all those squares start piling in to that 1/3 square, it is going to be it's going to blow up in price so quickly, especially with money velocity, that it's going to absolutely explode in price, and this will be the dominant coin of the world. Thanks for watching. I'll talk to y'all soon. I'm out.